Welcome back for another episode, Spirit Bus 33 fam. Jyotishamara here, once again, excited to take a little trip with you, expanding our consciousness, learning how to become our favorite versions of ourselves, living more in the now, all while embarking on this wild, wondrous earth experience. Join me almost every week as we evolve together, exploring Toltec, holistic, interdimensional, Eastern or Western, spiritual minded thinking and practices.
They're spiritual beings having a human experience.
Thank you for being here, for being a part of my lifeline, my timeline. If you would, please like, subscribe, share. If you wouldn't mind supporting my verbal art, be greatly appreciated. So I'm back in Michigan, super excited to be back on the doorstep of Lake Superior. I had an amazing time in the mountains in Arkansas. Thank you for coming along with me. There was many, many adventures and lessons and beautiful experiences. Some hard experiences too, but nonetheless, a beautiful, magnificent, would love to do it again chapter. I'm so excited to see what happens next, what adventures are going to unfold. But for today, we are trucking along, taking a little detour from our typical episodes, stepping into the waters of reality transurfing, a philosophy created by Vadim Zeland. This is about the fifth episode flowing through this reality of thinking. It might make more sense to start back at episode 70. They're about 20-ish minutes each, intentionally short to just kind of micro dose this concept as we go along. So to begin, let's settle in with this question. Are you typically a glass half empty or a glass half full type of person? Before you check inward, of course, there are circumstances where negative emotions, or let's just say dense, uncomfortable emotions, they're present. Grief, loss, depression, some traumas. But let's take a look at the bigger picture here. In general, are you more negative or are you more positive? According to reality transurfing, if you are identifying that you have a persistent negativity, a half empty cup, you have shifted to a negative lifeline, timeline, if you will. Now, as a holistic trauma therapist, exploring Vadim's work, I got a little defensive with my understanding of how trauma wires the brain and nervous system here, but let's see if we can just pick up what he's throwing down. So when an individual sits in a negative timeline, a negative space, transurfing invites you to remember the alternative space that holds all that was, is, and can be. This negativity was not likely present at birth. This was a learned reaction, a lifeline shift for not feeling that this earth experience is fulfilling enough. In that unfulfilled state, you start to speak about the discontent, the unfairness. You connect with people by complaints. Vadim shares, your discontent comes back to you like a triple force boomerang. You share your discontent with others, they share theirs with you. You see more of what you don't like in your life. Reality starts to look more dismal because that's where the focus is at. Then there becomes this loss of present moment, this loss of appreciation. And the conversation is either focused solely on what is going wrong, or the good old days, or I'll be happy when fill in the blank happens in the future. To start to unravel how to apply transurfing, it's important to note that it is a natural reaction to notice negative experiences. We're hardwired to react to pain. These natural reactions, they assist with keeping us safe from threats. But society has hijacked this. And these reactions, these negative experiences, they have been pushed. So just for a moment, think about media, news, some podcasts, some reels, pushing out negative energy. Why? Well, because that sells, that attracts, that controls. It's harder to have someone really focused on a topic of joy than fear. Back to remembering how those pendulums keep their strength: fear, shame, concern, and energy drain. Once someone is captive in those emotions, they will then share it to others. This reminds me of some Toltec wisdom, Don Miguel Ruiz's Four Agreements. It calls this energy a parasite. It passes from one person to the next, gaining more and more strength, and it passes down from generation to generation. So, a reminder that the process of sharing this negativity is not always malicious. Many are not aware. They're just acting out what they've seen. Or the awareness is present, but they're still learning to observe and to learn the opposite action of what they're feeling. A little DBT thrown in, especially when the pendulum swings at them. To engage in transurfing, an individual does not avoid the pendulums. They walk amongst them, ignoring their pull and shielding so that their energy is not harvested. They're wearing the woes of the world, the woes of their lives, like a loose garment that is there but cannot cling. What happens when we cling to the woes of the world? We live on that lifeline. And then we find opposing lifelines, which then start to compete against one another. The identification then becomes them and us. Let's use a silly analogy instead of one that might ruffle some feathers. Someone has in their lifeline that the brand Nike is the best. They grew up being bought Nike products by their family. Their family loves Nike. At some point, they were introduced that some people prefer Adidas. And at some point, then their energy was harvested in a way, pulled into a judgment that Nike's better than Adidas, to the point that they begin to speak that out loud, creating more and more strength, more strength than that the pendulum. They're being part of the cog in the Nike machine. And they begin to see people not as people, but instead scanning them for their choice in clothing. A negative judgment-based lifeline that surely ends up finding more differences to see people as others and continue to feed the destructive pendulums of division, which in return gives strength and abundance to the people profiting off of that energy. Now, take that analogy, as silly as it is, and apply that to other divided pendulums. How do we stop that pendulum? I like Nike. Well, we ignore any indignation that tries to pull to judge the person wearing Adidas. The person wearing Adidas is having their own earth experience. We all are. That pendulum loses strength in your life. It stops. You walk on by. If you're having a hard time and you can't just walk on by and you have to do something, perhaps create a group, Nike and Adidas collab group. But the key is, if you can't walk by, is refrain in sitting and shit talking the Adidas wearers. Because then you're just creating a new pendulum of them versus us, and you're the pendulum. If I could recommend right now pages out of his book to read, I would say read the section titled Epidemic, page 146. This might be hard to kind of wrap your head around, but perhaps in a good way. I will say this. Our energy is very powerful. We create reality collectively together. We have the ability to make ourselves sick and also heal ourselves by our thoughts, emotions, beliefs. You can take that and do with it as you please. I am sure future episodes will be more brazen with this idea as I move along in my own ability to not give a fuck. To be able to swallow what Vadim is spitting out, you will need to be able to unlearn and relearn. If you're listening to me, you might be somewhat able to see that the placebo effect can work without be giving the actual placebo pill. When it comes to giving yourself the placebo of monetary abundance, let's say, his take is very interesting. If you sit in negative energy about your finances, you're going to see more negativity. The more you become addicted to bitching about it, the more you will attract people that do the same. Think about the opposite. A person in an abundance mindset wears their financial state like a loose garment. Doesn't mean they're emotionless to it. It means that they don't wrap up in it, get all cozy with their despair. They look for opportunities to shift lifelines. They create the mold for their life. Trust me on this. I didn't go from being homeless to the level of success I have now, wallowing in my victimhood, and I was a victim. No, I said, fuck that. And I climbed my way up, looking at one opportunity after another as mine, even when people called it pipe dreams. And as I still am reaching for certain milestones, not set by anyone but me, not standing in a state of lack for where I am now, instead of state of gratitude. A reminder, while creating your reality, using any of the transurfing techniques that Vadim shares, he gives us this little nugget of wisdom. When your actions are based on logical deduction, you get a corresponding result. Again, when your actions are based on logical deduction, you get a corresponding result. It is stepping into action that defies logic. It is believing that you can defy statistics, that you can defy logic, that you can turn dreams that some might call pipe dreams into reality. Here's a few helpful hints drawn from the book. If you're working on drawing in monetary abundance, start by practicing standing tall in your energy around people who have wealth or some type of authority. A vibration of less does not match the frequency of abundance, and it's often why you see people gain wealth and then lose it. Also, work on moving out envy. If you sit in the vibration of envy, you really tap into how it feels in your body. You can see why that vibration would work against you. I like this quote from the book. To remain free of the pendulum's power, you must maintain a constant awareness of it. You must not allow your inner guardian to doze off. Think about that, your inner guardian. You, your consciousness. You are the master of your emotions, your thoughts, your behaviors. This, my friend, it's Earth School. All we have to do is take a seat, practice, learn, practice, create, evolve, repeat. A 3-card drawing from the Osho deck. First card, the outsider. It's not uncommon to hear somebody say that they have felt like the black sheep of the family. They have felt different. They have felt like an outsider. They don't quite fit. It's common that we talk to people who have some type of variation to that. A reminder, though, is it's really hard to view yourself as the outsider when you start to see that there is no one to compare to. There's not another person that is having your earth experience. There's not another you. So then there really can't be a comparison. You might have the same employment. You might have the same hair color. There might be some similarities, but a completely different reality. So once we step out of this comparison and we start to just embrace who we are fully and just say fuck it to who everyone else is, and we're going to be our favorite versions of ourselves. We're going to take those dreams, as crazy as they might be, and we're going to walk towards them because we know it's more about the journey than wherever we end up. Second card, intensity. We're going to use the intensity. We know that in times of intensity, we can propel forward faster than if we're standing still. Remember from this episode that Vadim shares that part of really manifesting the reality, part of transurfing is taking action steps. Action can have an intensity to it. Many times people will propel forward very quickly. They'll have ideas and then all of a sudden they will implement them. Boom, 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 boom. And then they will have the adjustment period of getting to know those changes. Last card, rebirth. You are constantly evolving into the next version of yourself. Look at your 5-year ago self. How different you were 5 years ago. It's going to keep happening because those of us that speak this language, those of us that are on this healing journey, expanding journey, remembering journey, whatever words you want to put to it, is the rebirth continues to happen over and over and over again. For me, once I get through this transurfing little, chapter, I will take parts of it and it will aid in part of my next rebirth. And then I move along to, the next thing to dive into. Earth School. What a gift. What a gift. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking a little seat on the bus. Please leave a comment, engage, let me know you're here. Again, if you wouldn't mind subscribing, that would really help. This is my art studio of verbal art. I'm enjoying it. Lots of gratitude to you.
Thank you for tuning in. Peace. having a human experience.